New Harvest is enjoying this celebration of African American history. There's so much to learn and so much to share. Sir, would you kindly give us your name and tell us what your area of skill or giftedness is as it relates to the arts?
Well, my name is Thaddeus Price Jr., and I am a professional musician in that conducting is my specialty. I'm a classically trained conductor and music educator.
Well, I'm excited because we know each other for years as we worshiped in the same church for many decades. And so I thought it'd be fitting that we would be outside of the Baltimore Museum of the Arts and that we would be able to talk about your contribution to the arts. Sir, tell us, when did you discover your area of giftedness?
When did I discover my area of giftedness? Well, I can't remember a day without music. I cannot remember a day without music. I have pictures at home. My mom still has pictures of me playing my toy piano when I was 2. And so that's all she wrote. I literally just, music has always just been in my blood. I had a very problematic birth and I was breech. The joke is that I came out kicking on, you know, that's the joke. But I don't know a day without music, and I've always played instruments, and so I don't know when I discovered it per se. It was just always there. Music was just the one thing that I was always good with. When I was 5 years old, I wrote a song called Me and My Piano. My one true friend in the world. My parents thought I was crazy. They said we might have to get him checked because he said his piano's his only friend. But that's how I felt. Yeah, and so it's just always been in me. It's always been. And then I would go to church and get to watch people like you. Okay? And then I grew up in a church where it was literally unfair, the amount of talent and giftedness that God had placed in one congregation. You know, literally, I mean, like I said, we had, the best directors. You know, we had directors, and then we had musicians that people wanted to be on a global level. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Billy Cummins, Jackie Johnson, Mark Payne, David Johnson. We could just go on and on and on and on and on, you know, of the skill and the giftedness that I was blessed to grow up surrounded by.
From a historical perspective, who do you most relate to in terms of inspiration for music?
When it comes to inspiration and music, historically, for me, I am very fortunate. I don't have to look back very far. I think that a little personal thing that for me, that I like, one of the things that I'll let you peek inside my journal. This is something that I have written in my journal, which is very special to me, is that I feel like I was uniquely poised or placed at a time to, I don't even want to say, I would never say capture a mantle. I wouldn't say that. No, I'm not. No. But to get glimpses of 2 people specifically who have impacted me in the most profound ways when it comes to art and spirituality. Because for me, arts and spirituality are so interconnected. I happen to be the last minister, quote unquote. Now, I don't use that title, but I'm talking about as far as official business of the church world. I was the last person that Monroe Sr., Bishop Apostle, the late Chief Apostle Monroe, that he licensed before he turned the church over officially. In other words, I did my process with him. I was one of the last people that had to go to his house weekly for training. And literally, after I did my initial, thing that we would do, the end of that year is when he then turned everything over to me. So I was the last one with him, and then I was also the very last person that Nathan Carter ever gave a master's degree to. And I was his last private student, to the point where he was so sick at the end where I would have to go to his home for lessons in conducting. And then the other thing is that when you talk about arts and spirituality, and you just mentioned the flow that we would have, when you think of some of the greatest ministries and some of the most effective leaders, right? Let me ask you this question. What do you, T.D. Jakes, Carolyn Showell, Monroe Saunders Sr., Jacqueline Johnson, just tell me something that all of y'all have in common.
Most certainly, I think we all have in common our God encounter.
Okay.
Our divine connection.
Yes.
And it's solid.
Okay.
Our relationship with God.
Okay.
So we do what we do out of a personal conviction.
Got it.
As Bishop Senior would say, not head knowledge, but a heart encounter.
Got it. Now, let me tell you from my perspective where I sit, what you all have in common. All of you started off as church musicians. All of you, God started that grooming, that planning, that training, that preparation for the pastorate, that preparation for leadership, the bishopric, whatever you want to call it. Some things were natural for you all in your leadership roles now because you were trained already. All of you started off in some capacity of being the church choir director, the church organist, the church pianist. You all were the church artists. And it's something about the artists of the church that people don't really understand what God is doing with and through them and how that whole thing works out. So when I look at you all, I see, look at that. Bishop Jakes, organist, you know what I'm saying? Choir directors, all of you. And I could name others, but when I think about those effective ministries and because you all have that in you, because it never goes away. It may shift, it may change, and you may not do the same things, but you still have certain things in your gut. You're going to run your ministries a certain way, and you are going to make sure that the arts receives its proper place because you know how important it is. You know that how your arts connects with worship, and how if that flow isn't right, it doesn't matter what you're gonna do in the pulpit. That's setting the tone of everything, and you all understand that. Yeah.
Well, I like the way you have turned this thing and began to interview me. This is incredible. I think we've tapped into something. Let me ask you this: would you name some of the places that you have performed and what specific role you played in the performance?
Sure. Well, most notably, now, for myself, when I was getting my training, I had the privilege of studying at the maestro's feet. So I was able to travel the world literally with Dr. Nathan Carter. And I could speak about that at length. But then as time went on and I was able to, complete my education and begin my career, I was really fortunate and blessed to take my students. I spent many years. I spent 20 years as a public school educator. I'm now at the university level, but before then, I spent 20 years as public school, and I was able to start my students locally, and then we traveled from coast to coast, up and down the East Coast, back and forth to California, and then I would love it when I was able to start taking them across seas. And so we've performed in cathedrals throughout France, throughout Florence, throughout Rome, Austria, all throughout the UK, and it just was just to be able to take beautiful little brown children from this beautiful chocolate city and show them another part of the world and other cultures, and to not just expose them, but then to also expose the other people to this great, beautiful giftedness that we're blessed with. And I'm telling you, we would go and perform for audiences where we might see 3 or 4 faces out of hundreds that look like ours. But the one thing, the tears have no color. Tears have no color.
Wow. What would you say would be your greatest challenge in your journey?
I think the greatest thing for me would just be, just do it. Don't second guess. Okay. And I'll say that one thing that I was very blessed to have one of the greatest fathers. I think I had the greatest father ever. And my father taught me so much. And my father told me, he always believed in me, right? And he always told me to never worry about people. Never worry about people. Like, just, son, we don't worry about people. We don't worry about people. I tell this story, and I'm gonna say it very quickly, that years ago, my father had a van that was breaking down. I mean, this van, it was in bad shape, okay, bad shape. And it was going down the street making noise and puff, smoke coming out the back and so forth. I mean, all kinds of, I would be laughing. And I would get my younger siblings in the back, they were ducking, embarrassed. And my father sitting right there, and he just going right ahead. And they're all embarrassed. And my father said to them, he said, why y'all embarrassed? He said, look, he said, you see people, they're gonna see us. And my father said, you see those people? He said, they're walking. He said, we blessed to be driving. That along with this right here. Bishop Roy Brown said something to me, these words right here, if I can give these words to anybody, greatest words ever. He said to me one time, he said, son, the day you overcome public opinion, you'll become unconquerable.
You'll become what?
Unconquerable.
Wow, unconquerable.
He said, when you overcome public opinion, you'll be unconquerable. Wow. That changed my life.
Wow.
So just that, just always knowing that, not that I have to trust me, but always remember, trust the God in you. Trust the God in you. You know, and that's it, that for me, because I've always, believe it or not, I actually am an introvert. People don't believe it, but I actually am.
I can relate to that.
You know,
I can relate to that.
It's very weird. And the only place where I am comfortable, and it's because I zone out. When I'm conducting, I'm not there. I'm not there. When I'm conducting, I'm in a world with music. When I'm conducting, I am trying to breathe life into whatever this artist wrote. And so I am just trying to breathe life into it. So I'm not even thinking about anything else. I am thinking about, what does this say? What does this score say to me? What is it speaking to me? And so now I am trying to interpret and breathe life into whatever that's going. So I'm not thinking about people. So it's not that I'm still an introvert. It's just that I'm not in that world anymore. I'm there. I'm locked in with just, that's it. Yeah.
From a historical perspective, what would you attribute the arts today to that could be traced back to back in the day?
Oh, I limit it, because that right there, that's a windfall. I mean, you name it. Everything that we do today is centered on the arts. Every single thing, everything that you see, everything you do, even in this America, you know, the land of great opportunity, land of great business. I tell people that when you want to talk about reparations, which I do believe we should have, whole nother story. But even with reparations, I tell people that it was my people that invented the very assembly line, which is actually the foundation of all big business, the foundation of every company. You go back, and I get it. You know, Henry T. Ford gets the credit. Yeah, they did a good job of mimicking what the slaves demonstrated. Because everyone knows we built this country. We literally, we built it. We literally, and I'm not even just talking about I'm talking physically we built it, you know, literally the Capitol, you name it. We built, and how did we do it? Well, we had what we call a work song. What is a work song? A work song is a song that you sing while you're working, and it's based on rhythm. It's based on rhythm. The difference between, so when you're talking about music, the difference between a Negro spiritual and an Italian aria is this. Aria is based on vowels. A spiritual is based on consonants. Consonants are hard and rhythmic. So, it's a work song. So I'm working while I'm doing it, and I'm working while I'm doing it, and I'm keeping up the rhythm, and I'm keeping up the pace, and it's timing, it's precision. It's timing, it's precision, and that's how we get it done. And our gracious masters observed what was happening. We know that they didn't invent the rhythm. We know that they struggled with it, but they saw the working and the timing and the rhythm. And that's what an assembly line is based on. Think if there were no assembly line. What would this country be? What would this world be? So, a work song. Cotton need a picking so bad. Cotton need a picking so bad. Cotton need a picking so bad. I'm gonna pick all over this field, right? And so watch this. After I do that, when I get to the song, I can see how much I've done. So now I can plan how many songs I'm going to do per day. I can now plan how many verses, how many loops, how many vamps. We invented all that. So I can now see, okay, by the time we get through this song, if there's 20 of us working this line, by the time we get through this song, we should be down a bale. So we can get through a bale of cotton. See? And then not only that, but then that also is how we invented coded communication. You see? So we invented now the coded communication, right? The coded communication based upon, because now one thing is that, you know, the brilliance, you know what I'm saying? You can rob us you can try to rob us of our identity, right? But one thing that they couldn't do, they couldn't steal our DNA. Now, if they figured out a way to do it, they would have, but they didn't know it existed yet. They could take the language, right? Take the heritage, take the culture, don't let them know who they are. Try to make them forget that they built libraries, they invented paper, they invented surgery. We gotta steal every piece of their connection to the brilliance of the African. We gotta take that away, right? But you couldn't mess with the DNA, right? You couldn't mess with that natural gift, that gift of the arts and rhythm and building and doing and working together. You couldn't shake that part, right? So then, okay, I can now take these same songs, right? Because now Master's happy with the song because they working good. They getting my stuff done. Master can sit on the porch with some lemonade and iced tea and be good, real good. The mistress of the house can get a new gown but now, let me now take these same songs and now let me take them, merge them with the scriptures that we've been taught, right? So I can now take it and I can now use these same lessons and I can talk to you. Do you know that our white brothers and sisters did not know for more than 200 years that most spirituals were coded communication? They had no idea. We were speaking a secret language. It was our own sign language. Okay. Wade in the water, Wade in the water, chill and wade. And God's going to. We knew that that meant that when the tide came in, that's when we were going to meet by the water. See that band, oh, Moses led. Moses was the code for Harriet Tubman. So we know that Tubman's coming this way, and we're going to meet when the tide comes in. That's when the water's going to be troubled. The tide is coming in. It's getting dark. Massa won't know. This is when this group will go.
Would you please make a commitment to me, please? One commitment. We have got to get together again. We've got a lot of unfinished business because there's a lot of education tied into our historic, into our history.
Yeah.
And we've got to disseminate this.
Yes, sir.
And I've just so appreciated your sharing. I'm blessed that we know each other.
Yes, sir.
And I'm blessed that we come from the same heritage.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And I'm blessed that God is propelling us into a destiny.
Absolutely.
That's far greater than what you and I could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
Thank you for allowing us this opportunity at the Baltimore Museum of the Arts outside to share God's gift to man, the arts.
No, thank you. Thank you. And I am honored. One thing is that, and I'll say this, if you may allow me, I believe you must always remember where you've come from, acknowledge it, and always be grateful for every seed planted. Thank you. Thank you for investing in me and giving me something to further aspire to. Thank you, sir. God bless you, and I appreciate your impact on my journey. I always say, when I grow up, thank you so much. It'd be my pleasure. I could talk about this all day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me a little bit today.